Seizing opportunities, knowing the importance of confidence, and working hard to reach your goals. These are just a few of the messages from the inaugural event hosted by the Upstate Women's Leadership Council. Formed by State Senator Kathy Ritchie, co-chairs Congresswoman Elise Stefanik and Jefferson County District Attorney Cindy Intschert, as well as other local leaders, the council's mission is to create more and better opportunities for women throughout central and northern New York. The council's first event, held at Jefferson Community College in Watertown, attracted more than 200 women and featured a keynote address by Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul, as well as mentoring and networking opportunities for attendees.
It makes us all stronger when we work together and we network and we build off each other's experiences, and that's why tonight is just so important to me to be able to share all that with you.
We're here to be inspired and to inspire each other to reach our full potential, and to help each other along the way.
In her keynote, Lieutenant Governor Hochul shared experiences from her own career and offered suggestions for women looking to reach their full potential.
I want to make sure that we have this strong sense, and as this Leadership Council continues to evolve and engage more people and have more forums and talk about other professions, that you really just do have a strong sense of the power that you possess. The power, first of all, to do good, make a difference in people's lives, and a power to really live a fulfilled life because you believed in yourself, and when you believe in yourself, you'll not just be a role model for friends and others, but also if you're a parent someday, you may not think of it now, young ladies, but if you're a parent someday, there's going to be a next generation that you're going to want to inspire, that they're going to feel confident and stand on your shoulders, as I stand on the shoulders of a lot of women who broke the barriers for me to be able to enter public service.
The event also included a special ceremony where members of the council honored local women for their achievements. Every woman is capable of doing great things, but as the Upstate Women's Leadership Council aims to demonstrate, we can reach even greater heights when we work together. To learn more about the Upstate Women's Leadership Council, please visit www.ritchie.nysenate.gov.
I'm extremely excited tonight to have for our first event such an amazing keynote speaker. The Lieutenant Governor is someone who I admire greatly, someone that I worked with when I was county clerk many years ago, and I could think of no one better to have here to address all of us than the Lieutenant Governor. The Lieutenant Governor was inaugurated the 77th Lieutenant Governor in January 2015. Earlier in her career, she served 4 years as the Erie County Clerk and 2 years as Member of Congress. Following that, she led the economic development effort at M&T Bank as the Vice President of Strategic Relationship. The Lieutenant Governor is one of the most well-known electeds in the state of New York. And like I said earlier, somebody that all of us can admire. In her new position, she takes time for every person she comes across. And I have to say, there's no better example of what New York has to offer than our Lieutenant Governor. So it's with great pride that I introduce my good friend, the Lieutenant Governor of the state of New York, Kathy Hochul.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Well, the last time we sat in these seats, we were fighting to protect Fort Drum from cuts out of Washington. I'm sure a lot of you are here, but what a night that was. What an incredible outpouring of love and support from the community. And I will tell you, it made a difference. I don't think they'll ever lay a hand on Fort Drum as long as all of us are alive. Well done. And Senator Ritchie, thank you. Thank you, first of all, for convening this opportunity for women to get to know each other better and perhaps find some life's lessons from all of us. But also, the role model that you have already are to your staff, Sarah and Jess. Thank you for your involvement in pulling this together, and just really your efforts to pull women up. And I think that's a sign of a leader, is that not just when you find out the secret sauce or the key to get where you want to get, you are actually willing to turn around and bring others with you. And that's what tonight is about, bring all of us along. So thank you, and that's what the leadership is all about. So thank you, Senator Ritchie. And District Attorney Intschert, what a great story. You know, a reminder to all of us, first of all, not to take for granted life's blessings. You know, many of us I was raised in a good nurturing home as well, and what a difference it makes to have other people that are willing to believe in you when perhaps you don't even believe in yourself as much. So I'm glad that you did see the light, that you saw your own potential, and that's a lot of what we need to talk about tonight, is that women need to know their own value and their potential. And truly, I'm hoping the next generation doesn't wait for other people to point it out, that you know you have it within. And what always astounds me is the fact that it's such a rare case when a woman young in life decides she wants to be in government or run for office, whereas young men think nothing of it. You'll get very young men saying, I'm going to be a congressman when I grow up, I'm going to be a governor when I grow up. And women sort of fall into these opportunities, or an issue in the community may bring them to that. But I want to get to the point where young women in high school say, you know what, I'm going to be president of the United States. I'm going to be a governor, I'm going to be a congressman, I'm going to be a mayor. I'm going to go for it. And not ever be held back, and really believe because of people that they saw go before them, but also just have that inherent confidence in themselves. And to the extent that I'm probably going to be asked a question or so about what holds women back, I often think it's our own lack of confidence in ourselves. And I hold myself out as exhibit number 1 or A or B, whatever the number, what in evidence, district attorney, is it A or B? Or I hold myself out as an example, really, of someone who did not have the confidence to even run for office myself until, I'll tell you the story, what led me to that. I was growing up in a home in Western New York, very modest home. My parents started living in a trailer. My dad had worked at the Bethlehem steel plant. My mom was working a couple of jobs, and we had 6 kids, big Irish Catholic family. And I just lived a very regular life. I mean, and no one would have looked at me in grade school or high school and says, there's a leader. You know, she's got what it takes. You know, I was the one kind of the wallflower at the school dance, kind of awkward, kind of shy. So, you know, I worked at a pizzeria making chicken wings. We're from Buffalo. We invented them. We're very proud of that. You know, and I still have scars on my arm where I got burned from the ovens from 500 degrees when I was a teenager. So I worked like crazy. We didn't have a lot of money, and I was just trying to make money to be able to afford college. So I wasn't president of the student class. I didn't do any sports. And speaking of sports, I think we've got some champions in this room. Is that true that we have some basketball champions here? Anybody play for the championship basketball team? You're kind of smiling here in the front row. Is that you? No? We have some hockey champions as well? No? Messina here? Messina in the house? Okay, all right. Halverson here also. I didn't have those opportunities. I would have loved to, and I think I would have been very competitive on this field, but I was at a time when our big deal was, if you weren't a cheerleader, I was able to go down and watch my brothers play sports. How exciting was that? So I did a lot of that. I did that. That was basically the only opportunity to me to get close to a playing field, but I think I would have been pretty good at it. But I didn't have a spectacular childhood. But when I went off to college, I was actually heading into my freshman year, I had the opportunity to do some work on local campaigns. And this was probably instilled in me back when I was about 8th grade, is that I learned all about social studies, learning about the different levels of government, went on a field trip to Washington, and I said, you know, someday, wouldn't it be really neat to work in the Capitol? I mean, maybe someday, and this is my career goal when I was an 8th grader, I want to work for, not be, but work for a U.S. senator someday. Wouldn't that be awesome? Again, putting myself in the mindset, the best I'm going to do is to be a staffer to somebody else. Okay, get that? Okay, guys my age, we're saying I'm going to be the senator. I'm saying I'm going to be the support person behind the scenes. That's all I'm going to do, and that'll be a very cool career, and I'll ride out the rest. So that was my goal. That was my dream. So I used to volunteer on campaigns in my spare time, and back when I was younger, this will show how really old I am, I worked on Senator Moynihan's first race. We worked with a guy named Tim Russert, if you remember him from television. He was out of Buffalo, another South Buffalo Irish family, and we were working on campaigns, and I got to know him, got to know the senator. So that's what I did. And so I went to college, and I really found college was an opportunity to reinvent myself. I actually did step up and run for local office, or not local office, but student government. I got involved in a lot of issues on campus, and I would say politely I was an activist, I remember we had a boycott of the bookstore, for example. And I thought the prices were too high, and I don't want to give anybody any ideas. I'm sure the prices are just fine here, Dr. McCoy. Everything's great here at JCC. But even I remember the Carrier Dome was not called the Carrier Dome at Syracuse University down the road from here where I went to school. It was they were looking for a naming gift, and I was actually working with other students to try and have it named after Ernie Davis, who was the first Black Heisman Trophy winner. So we were all excited about this. We were going to raise money. We were going to do this, so idealistic. And all of a sudden, Carrier Corporation says, no, we're going to name it after Carrier. It's like, so I went in, probably 18, 19 years old, wearing my best blue jeans and sneakers. That's all I had in college. And I met the CEO of Carrier Corporation. Walked into his office with someone else from student government. I said, listen, I know you want to put forward the money to name the Carrier Dome after your company, but wouldn't it be really altruistic on your part to take that money and name it after Ernie Davis instead? I mean, would that be really nice of you to do that? I almost got laughed out of the room. But I think that was just one opportunity I had to actually get out and fight for something that I believed in despite the odds. And at a young age, I actually learned what negotiation was about and compromise, because today there's the Ernie Davis fields. They did say, okay, we'll give you something for that. So that was a lesson to me. Even if you're not going to win a battle, stay involved in the fight, see it through, and take away whatever you can out of it. So I think at that age, I realized that this is good. I could do things for other people. And that's really what pulled me personally to public service, that I could maybe make a difference in people's lives, but still as a staffer. I had the opportunity to become the job I always dreamed of. I was an attorney. I had gone to law school in Washington, worked for a congressman, which I thought was the coolest job ever, working as a staffer when I was about 24 years old. And Senator Moynihan, when I was mid-20s, called and asked if I'd be his attorney, be his counsel. So I, at age probably 26 or 27, had achieved my dream that I set in 8th grade. I was a staffer to a U.S. senator. So I was done. I didn't have a plan B after that. That's all I ever wanted to do. So I loved that work, and had a couple of children in Washington. My husband worked for the Department of Justice, and we said, let's raise them back home. So I moved back to Buffalo with absolutely no plan of what to do other than I'm going to get involved in my community. Started going to town board meetings. Well, I was trying to get all sorts of things from our town board, and nobody listened to me ever. And so I said, you know what, I'm getting a little tired of this. I'm sitting out there raising my hand. They're just ignoring me like crazy. There's all men on the board. Who's this crazy lady coming here with petitions all the time and trying to advocate for different things? And I'll tell you what got me to run for office. A young man, 22 years old. Now, I'm 35. I was an attorney. I'd been counsel to a senator. I had all these other background. I had helped start a business, family business. And I didn't think I had the qualifications or the experience to run for town council, okay? This is pretty low down there if you're not familiar with government. This is really front lines, local government. It's where you start. A 22-year-old guy out of college, living with his mom and dad, not paying a mortgage at all, no children, no experience, decides he's going to run for town council. It's like, okay, all right, okay, if this doesn't get me going, and seeing that he's got the confidence to say that I've got something to offer my town at age 22, and I'm sitting there back saying, literally holding myself back saying, oh, I'm just going to be the staffer for the rest of my life, I ran for office. And actually the two of us ran. There were 2 seats, and we served together for 14 straight years. And I will tell you, this young man grew up to be a real leader as well. We became very close friends, and he is now the acting president of the largest medical facility in Buffalo. So he saw in himself something. He had leadership material. I had it, but didn't know it, I guess. I just didn't believe in myself enough, and I didn't have people telling me, oh, you should do this or do that. So I'm here to tell you, anybody who's got this view of themselves where you're saying, I don't think I can do that, I need more experience, do not do that to yourselves, particularly young women. Don't hold yourselves back. Don't hold yourself back. Please don't do that, because you have potential that you can unleash. And my view also is, fake it till you make it, okay? When you're in a circumstance where, I'm thrust in all kinds of things like, oh, this is a brand new one for me. You walk in with all the confidence in the world. You act like you own the place. And people think you do, and all of a sudden you start saying, you have a mantle of authority that comes with a certain title, whether you're, involved in your community or in the college, whether you're involved in business or in politics, you have certain stature that comes with certain positions, but you have to act like you own it, that it's yours, it's part of who you are. So I cannot stress enough, if there's a lesson to take away, look in the mirror, practice speeches before you have to do something, read all the books you possibly can on leadership and what it takes and confidence building. I took a course, it was a Dale Carnegie program. My father had taken this, and which is one of the reasons he left Bethlehem Steel before it collapsed and went into a different business that he helped grow to be 3,000 employees. I guess I come from a good gene there on the leadership. My dad took a course, Dale Carnegie program, they still offer it today, and we had to do practice speeches all the time. So when I'm asked to now, get up before a group quickly, I've done this a few times. But at the time, I was terrified. I mean, that is one area where women particularly, hold themselves back because they're afraid of public speaking. Am I right? Who feels really comfortable speaking before a crowd? Raise your hand. Are you all feel comfortable speaking for a crowd? Okay, I'm impressed. I think you're all faking it till you make it, right? All right, you just followed my first lesson. Awesome. Fake it till you make it. You're all confident speaking for a crowd. I was terrified. So I took this class. I'll tell you, I remember vividly, we had to give little speeches once a week. I was in Washington, D.C. at the time, and I had a 6-month-old baby on my hip. My husband's boss was coming over for dinner, so I'm trying to cook something over here. I'd also started a little business. So I'm on the phone trying to make it sound like I really was not home with my children making dinner with the kids to my clients. And I was also practicing my speech in the mirror, okay? Picture this, I had a mirror in the kitchen trying to rehearse my speech for my class. So women, can we multitask or what, right? Is that not our greatest strength, that we can do all this at once, and sometimes they drop, but you pick it up? So we are amazing. So I remember that, and I still look back today, and I still read a refresher all the time on how to do public speaking, because I will always say I can always do better. I mean, I'm going to go back today and say, I'm not sure they like that at all. I've got to do better. So I'm always trying to improve myself, and that's another area where I think we never think that you can rest on your laurels, that you're where you're going to be, because you always have an opportunity to improve yourself. Never stop doing that. Read everything, get your hands on, watch programs, be around people that stimulate you, that you take energy from. And that's another thing, if there's people that pull you back and don't believe in your potential, find some new friends, find another circle. You don't need that. You do not need negative energy in life. Because I have a very clear view. We only go around once. And every single day is a God-given gift, and you have to make the best of what you can, because you'll never get it back. And I learned this in public life, that I had run for county clerk. I was the highest ranked female in Erie County. And I'm going to just depart here for a second. Jefferson County, what is in your water? You have women running the whole world here, right? Okay, let me do this from memory, and I'll do my best. You have a congresswoman. She's awesome, because young women willing to step up and run. You have a congresswoman, your state senator, woman, your state assembly member is a woman. You have 4 countywide offices, district attorney, Cindy. You have a treasurer, your county clerk, sheriff. I mean, wow. When I left Erie County in 2011, I was the only female county clerk. I was the only female elected official. Nobody's replaced me as a woman. There's no women in Buffalo government. None in the city, not one. Not one person in Erie County of 1 million people. And I had to come all the way up to Jefferson County to see how it's really supposed to be. So this is amazing. So there you go. So I was county clerk, ran for office, and that's where I got to have such a great relationship with Patty when she was your senator, when she was county clerk. We worked on in a very, I'd say, nonpartisan way, not even bipartisan, just nonpartisan. There was no political politics involved. We just did what we thought was right for people. We fought for them. We fought tooth and nail, and made a lot of great progress. We're very proud of that. So I developed some great relationships there. And I thought I could have ridden out that career forever. I was happy. A lot of people stay county clerk for like 20, 30 years. I mean, who doesn't like your county clerk? If you don't screw up, you're in. So I really enjoyed that. And I just won my re-election with about 80% of the vote, which was pretty good. I had I thought it was a tough opponent. I took it seriously, but we ended up pulling off. So that was in November, and by February, you can look up the circumstances, because I won't talk about it, but all of a sudden there's an unexpected vacancy for Congress. And I'm a Democrat, and it was the most Republican district in the state of New York. So a lot of people were trying to encourage me to run for county executive. We have a county executive form of government, which would have been fairly easy. And I remember talking to my 21-year-old daughter about this. And I said, Katie, I've got to make a decision now. There's some, I'm thinking I could run for county executive. I just won countywide. I won really well. We have some money left. People know me, blah, blah, blah. The polls show I'm up by 10 without even having my name in the race. So this is pretty much doable over here. Then the seat for Congress opened up. Okay, I'm a Democrat. It's totally Republican. Nobody knows me because it's 7 counties. I'm only known in 1. I'd have to raise millions of dollars. And basically the polls say I have no chance of winning. Which one should you think I should do, sweetheart? And Katie looks up at me with these beautiful eyes. Congress, duh. Mom, you have to do Congress, duh. It's like, oh, yes. I just really set myself up, because here I am in front of my daughter, seeing whether I've got the guts to do something that sounds pretty insurmountable, but could be pretty cool if we pulled it off. Well, I won't go into all the details, but it was a short race, special election, and we pulled it off. And it was a race that kind of shocked the nation. There was a lot of national attention. I had Al Jazeera come over and cover my race. I mean, this is how crazy it was. People from all over Europe were there election night, as well as national press. So it really thrust me into a whole different role, having just been a county clerk, and now I'm doing national television interviews. But I loved my time in Congress. I really loved it. You really felt that you could make a difference in people's lives. But this gets me back to where I have a sense of everything could be short term, and you have to make the most of it, because a short time later is redistricting. District got a little tougher. I lost by less than 2%. And so here I am. My political career was over, done. It was a great run, but it was done, right? And I went off into the sunset to work for a wonderful bank. They were great people. I had a chance to travel all over the country. And all of a sudden, I'm minding my own business, and a phone call comes, will you come to New York City and talk to the governor, a couple of days before the convention. I'm thinking, okay, they want me to do a nice introduction of the governor. I've done this before. I can do this. I'll introduce him at the convention, right, Jim? We've done this a few times. And I was asked to be his running mate for lieutenant governor. I was rather surprised, but I was upstate person. I didn't know if they traditionally had not always done upstate, but I thought that this was my chance. This was, and I also think there was a little bit of divine intervention. I had just lost my mother to ALS literally 2 months the day before, and she was one of my closest political advisors. She believed in me like you wouldn't believe. Even when I was, losing my election, she was down at her house in Florida calling everybody she could. My daughter's really nice. You got to vote for her. Honestly, I'd walk into a diner in it's such a rural district. I mean, this looks very cosmopolitan compared to my district, I assure you. And I'd walk into a diner and they'd say, oh, I just got off the phone with your mother. So she said you're a really nice girl, and your room wasn't always clean, but you're a nice kid. So my mom and I were really soulmates, and so I lost my mom, and it was 2 months the day when I gave my acceptance speech to run for lieutenant governor, and I really dedicated to her and thought about something that was on our refrigerator growing up that my mother imparted to all of us, which was, it said, go into the world and do well, but more importantly, go into the world and do good. So I was raised in an environment where we have a moral obligation to make the world a better place, improve the lives of others, and I found the outlet for that to be public service. Everybody has their own way to contribute, but this was my way, and I still consider every day of it to be a privilege. It's an honor, and it can be gone at the decision of the voters anytime, and that's why I treasure it. And to be able to work with someone who I admire so much, our governor, who works closely with, in a bipartisan way, trying to move this state forward, looking for great partners in Albany, and we are making a difference. And so for me to be able to come out to a place like this and just have a great conversation with all of you and be around good people, the leaders of your community that have stepped up and are willing to accept the mantle of responsibility. And it's not always easy. There are some tough days. The senator talked about how that man at the door said he would never vote for you because you're a woman. I mean, that had to hurt. I've had similar crazy experiences. I had $7 million of negative campaigns run against me on television, and it was ugly. I didn't even like myself at the end of that. I said, geez, I'm like, wow, I didn't know I was that bad. And the worst was, it's always around Halloween, and they do this scary, make you look like a witch ad. Okay, that's original. But the little girl next door, she was 7 years old, she said, Mommy, please turn off the TV. They're making Mrs. Hochul look so scary. I can't look at her anymore. So I'll tell you, if that doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. I really subscribe to that. If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. So women are tough. Women can take anything, any bit of adversity, bring it on. We have babies, for God's sakes. I mean, I can't think of anything more physically painful than babies, and I've got a couple. So I think I want to make sure that we have this strong sense, and as this leadership council continues to evolve and engage more people and have more forums and talk about other professions, that you really just do have a strong sense of the power that you possess. The power, first of all, to do good, make a difference in people's lives, and a power to really live a fulfilled life, because you believed in yourself, and when you believe in yourself, you'll not just be a role model for friends and others, but also if you're a parent someday. You may not think of it now, young ladies, but if you're a parent someday, there's going to be a next generation that you're going to want to inspire, that they're going to feel confident and stand on your shoulders, as I stand on the shoulders of a lot of women who broke the barriers for me to be able to enter public service. And again, Jefferson County, you rock with your representation, and it is really just a privilege to be here. And you can count on me to be someone who's going to show up a lot. I've been here in this community many, many times, and I've been in the job 11 months now. I will be here often because I really care about this part of the state, particularly areas of the state that feel they're not getting as much attention. This is where the governor wants me to be. He wants me to let you know that this area matters greatly to the state of New York and to people in Albany. So I will continue to be engaged, and I want to thank our senator once again for allowing me to be here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now she's going to fire away some questions.
We do.
Gosh.
Some of you wrote down questions in the lobby for us, and we are going to read some of them now. Looking back, is there one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Don't hold yourself back. I told that story. Do not hold yourself back. That's exactly what I did. And I'm delighted where I am, but I also lost a lot of years of thinking I could not be what I've been able to become. And so I would say, looking back, I held myself back way too long. So,
I really want to find a mentor, but don't know how to go about approaching someone. Do you have any advice?
it's an interesting question because people want to have a mentor and have a relationship with someone, but it's a little awkward to walk up to somebody and say, will you now mentor me? And in fact, if you read the book Lean In, which I recommend you all read by Sheryl Sanders, yeah. She actually has a chapter on this, how to find a mentor, and she says, don't walk up to somebody and say, will you be my mentor? I think it has to happen more organically, that you seek out people in your workplace, or if you're in an academic institution, or you see other people you admire, and sort of a relationship builds, whether it's, you're a younger person, this is someone who's, been in the business or profession a longer time, or whether you're just starting out with someone. So I would say kind of quietly be searching for this person, but don't scare somebody off and say, you need to be my mentor now, you need to check on me, you need to keep track, and my career is on your shoulders, and if I blow it, it's your fault. Okay, that's not going to work. And I'll talk about briefly my mentor. When I was 18 years old, I actually during the summers, volunteered at the New York State Assembly office, and I was in charge of cutting news clips. I had a real important job. I had to cut the newspaper. In fact, that's how I met my husband, if I can digress 1 second. He was also a summer intern, And he walked in the first day of summer internship, and I was cutting the newspaper, and he thought he was so clever. And he says, "Oh, turn to your horoscope page." I'm like, "Okay." He says, "You're going to have lunch with a very handsome young man today." And I said, "Oh, really? Who's that going to be?" So 31 years later, it worked out well. But I also think that, yeah, and so in that office, the woman who ran that office was 10 years older than me. She had a lot of responsibility. She ran the statewide offices for the Speaker of the Assembly. And we just developed a lot of relationship building or just time together. And I'm happy to say we stayed in touch our entire lives. She retired as executive director of United Way, and I brought her on my staff 6 months ago. She is now kind of reversed. Now she was the person I looked up to, and now we have a lot of fun working together as well. So these could be lifetime relationships, but just be smart about how you approach it, I would say.
Do you have any advice for working moms who are looking to better balance their career and motherhood?
Yeah, the kids do grow up. It does get easier. It's tough. I mean, that is such a tough issue. When I ran for town council, I had a just turned 4-year-old and a 5-year-old at home. And it's considered a part-time job, but the way women do their jobs, we actually make it full-time. So I was putting in a lot of hours. But I really tried hard to, involve the kids. I took them campaigning with me, door to door. And this is funny. My daughter got married last Saturday. She's now 26 years old. And her in-laws hosted a rehearsal dinner, and they had this pig roast. And so there's this giant pig spinning around on this pit. And I said, I have to tell this story. Katie, my daughter Katie, do you remember when you were 4 years old, my very first time at a campaign event? It was at the Trinity Episcopal Church in our town, and we went to a church picnic, and we walk out in the backyard, and there's a pig turning around on the spit, this big, black, charred, scary-looking thing. And Katie had just seen the movie Babe, and she loves pigs more than anything. And so she goes over to this and says, Mom, is that a real pig? And I had to say yes, I don't lie to my kids. So she throws herself on the ground in front of probably 150 people, throwing a little temper tantrum. And I'm just young mom, rookie running for office, and I'm looking at him and saying, okay, my career just ended this day because people are going to look at her and say, if I can't control my child, how are they going to trust me to run a town? These are the thoughts going through your head. But I would say it was worth the balance. I made it work. I had a supportive husband who took care of the kids every night when I was at town board meetings, and he took care of them, and he became my sign crew, took my son out to pound in the signs. And so I really involved my family in my particular job. I'm not sure that works for everybody, but I would say both my children are very good citizens today. They know they can never skip even a primary. They don't miss a school board election. They vote. They get out there. They're engaged. They're smart, and I'm proud of that. I think that's one takeaway. They might not have had me there at every single event, and I tried my best. But I would also just say, moms, just get rid of the guilt. Just don't feel guilty about every time you walk out the door. They will survive. I'm evidence. They turn into adults, and they do forget all the times you weren't there. In fact, they actually do come back and apologize for being really bad teenagers, which is the nicest thing you can ever hear. So it's a tough time. There's no one answer to it all, but having a support system of family makes all the difference, whether it's a parent or neighbors or friends, to help out with your kids. But don't be afraid to involve them in what you do. My dad used to take me to his office when he left the steel plant. Like I said, he started this little business, and he was in computers, and I would go just sit there and color all day to be with my dad on a Saturday when he was at work. So just pull your kids in. We all worked at my mother's flower shop. My daughter was 4 years old, plunking in flowers in the vases. So keep them engaged. Let them know what you do. Let them know your work is important too, and never feel guilty about what you're doing. So.
Right. I'm the type of person who takes criticism to heart. Any advice for not taking things so personally?
Just don't. In my business, Patty knows this, and Cindy knows this, you've got to be as tough as nails. You really do. And if you let all the slights get to you, it'll really pull you down. Like I said, I mentioned the television ads. I didn't want to watch TV. I didn't want to see the newspaper. I didn't want to read the letters to the editor. It was tough. But you also have to, like I said, fake it till you make it, because the people around you, your young campaign staffers or your husband or your kids, if they see it getting to you and making you feel pain, it makes them feel really horrible. So you just tough it out, You act like it doesn't bother you, and it truly, eventually, it doesn't. And I remember one of the worst days I had when I was running my first race for Congress. My mom saying, she goes, I'm living in Florida, but Mom, guess what? I learned about blogs. I can read all the blogs about you. Oh, Mom, don't read the blogs. Like these are nasty people sitting in their basements, they hate politicians. So Mom, don't read the blogs. Please don't read the blogs. So I guess I got tougher because I needed to, and now it's, you just do it enough, it becomes pattern. I am really tough. I think about the Lubridoom commercials where there's a woman who turns into an alligator, her skin's really tough. That's probably me now. It would take a lot to bother me. But early on, I mean, the littlest letter to the editor saying I wasn't really doing a good job or something in the Hamburg Sun when I was a town councilman, I would just like, oh my God, they don't like me. And so don't let it get into your head. There's always going to be people against you, particularly in our business. There's going to be a lot of people against you. And wherever you are, there's going to be people that want to hold you back. There are. You ignore them, you put them aside, and you stay around the positive people and move forward.
This is going to be our last question.
Okay.
What advice would you give someone going into a leadership position for the first time?
That's a good question. When I became county clerk, I had just been a staffer. I had never had people work under me, and all of a sudden I've got a staff of 150 people. I've got 7 auto bureaus that I'm running, locations all over. I've got people running the court records and pistol permits and all this. And so I knew the operations, but I was all of a sudden going to go from being a colleague to all these people and equal to their boss. I read every book on management I could get my hands on. I read everything, and there's ones it's okay to be the boss. I mean, there's ones that are specifically tailored to people that are all of a sudden thrust into the position. So I just learned. I asked a lot of questions. I asked my mom and dad who had started businesses. I had a sister who started as a receptionist in a company and acquired some skills, started her own, and ended up selling her company for an obscene amount of money. She's now retired. She had 500 employees. So I called on everybody I knew. I called on people constantly to get advice on how to step into this new role. Whereas I didn't want to be, too hard of a boss, but I also wanted to make sure I got the work done. I wanted to set a certain tone. And I basically told everybody who worked for me, you are the face of government to thousands of people. So how you treat them is going to be reflective of how they view their government. And I said, that's enormously powerful. So even in the auto bureaus, I used to go out there all the time. Patty knows this. You go out there and just build them up and say, not everybody's going to be happy, but if you send them away, you treat them with respect, you treat them nice, you give them a smile. No matter how bad your day is, you do not let them know that. So I felt that I was just imparting values that I just knew from growing up, I guess, that you maybe wouldn't find in a book. I tried to do that, but I also needed experts to tell me how to deal with those tough situations, and the answers are always in a good book, I assure you. So, all right, all set?
Yeah.